Growing up, I saw the numbers 911 all the time, ever since I was really little. And then when September 11th, 2001 happened, I was about 18 or 19 years old. I was living with my boyfriend at the time. I was working at a little pet shop at nighttime. And just as I was waking up, I turned on the television, and the first plane had struck the first building. And I was just horrified. I think like pretty much everybody was. And the next plane hit, and it was hard for me to really realize, was it real? I remember I went outside and I knocked on my neighbor's door because I wanted somebody to confirm for me that it was even real, what I was seeing. The weeks that followed that, seeing people being so courageous and brave. If they ever made a documentary or on any of the anniversaries when they would check in with families and people that were affected, I was always just very curious as to how they were doing. I never really knew why it had such an impact on me until recently. About a year ago, I was on a hike, as I typically do. I was talking to God and trying to better understand the circumstance that I personally was in. After so many years of not only the synchronicity of the number 911, but the significance of that day to me personally, and in my life now as a humanitarian, but as someone who has been targeted by a group of evildoers is the best that I can describe them, because I don't actually know who they are or what their intention is. I'm only certain that it is a large group of people. The motive driving these people is hate. Is hate. The effect that these people have had, not only on my life, my business, my ministry, but my children's lives as well, is extraordinary. It's extraordinary. On my hike, I was asking God, like, what is the reason that you would let this happen to me? I had gone through a deep transformational healing period already, and some of the most high-level spiritual warfare, really my entire life, but in particular as I left my corporate leadership job. Not only that corporation, but veterinary medicine in general. I, as total, had worked in vet med for 25 years. I've already been brought through so many lessons in my life. Forgiveness being one of the most profound. Understanding grief and loss and selflessness and patience. Allowing God's will. The overall theme of my life has been faith, though. Faith. And I know I don't look like what I've been through. But if you could see past my flesh, you would see a battle-wounded soldier. You would see scars from head to toe. But you would also see my heart that is still intact, that is still very loving and kind and grateful, but also under attack. Under attack. It is very, very clear that this group's ultimate goal, I believe, is to take my life. I think they're quite frustrated that they haven't been successful with that yet. When I asked God, like, what is the significance of this? What am I supposed to understand here? Taken back to that day of September 11th, and this is oftentimes how God speaks to me and has me understand. It's a recall of a memory or a time or a feeling. And all of a sudden I was pulled back into that feeling of that day. And just instantly I knew. I was like, gotcha. I got you now. The impact of what followed that day. It was an act of hate, an act of evil hate, that still to this day, no one, unless you are evil, would be able to even articulate an understanding of how could that happen? Why would that happen? Right? The only thing that actually gave meaning and the takeaway for me, and probably for a lot of people, coming together, the uniting of humanity in its fullest nature, as God designed us to be. The compassion, the empathy, the courage, the selfless service, the integrity, the dignity, the honor. I mean, for weeks and weeks and weeks, yes, there was a concern about the perpetrators of the evil and all of that, but I think what most of us were holding on to, but also so inspired by, was the love, the example of the possibility of humanity when we unite. As I've had to navigate this really horrific experience, which I'm actually still experiencing now to this day, unfortunately, I've had to really dig in, and I think anybody who goes through something, who refuses to be made a victim, even when people are trying very, very hard to make you a victim, one of the ways that you can navigate that experience is to understand whatever the opposition is. And it doesn't mean you adopt it, it doesn't mean you accept it as truth, but you can still better understand. And God has been so gracious with walking me through this in a way in which it wouldn't overwhelm me because of what was happening in my physical world, which I'm going to go into a lot of detail about because I'm about to share the whole experience with all of you. But ultimately, better understanding the tactics and the methods, like the vessel of the hate and how they were trying to use it to hurt me, hurt my children, and essentially delete me. Every agent of evil, the adversary, the enemy, what all of them use as their method, their carrying method, whether it's in the way that they speak, whether it's hate speech, whether it's in some kind of actual physical impact, whether it's physical violence, whether it's just control and oppression, It's all designed to move you to do something a certain way, whether it's to fall into the trap that they have set or so that they can enact an act on you. But the vessel that is carried through is always the same. And it's fear. It's fear. Fear always comes before the impact of hate. Have just naturally programmed with our own biases, with the biases of the people around us, of our culture, of the economic status of the environment that you're in. I may have personal beliefs, but I don't have biases. So that makes the depth of my perception of the world a little deeper, but also much broader. And so if you were to use the formula that I just gave you in its application in our society, in our culture, in any arena, it can tell you a lot about what's happening there. People are relentless. This type of violence, hate, and evil is not something that is random. It's not. This is very high level stuff. I'm 44 years old. I'm white. I'm heterosexual. I've never been married. I have no toxicity in my life. I'm a minister. I have no addictions. I have no criminal record. I'm a healer. And I'm a Christian. I don't carry the spirit of judgment. I don't carry the spirit of prejudice. I stay in my lane, being used by God in the way that God has chosen to use me, and I don't hurt people. These people have done to me and my kids it's unreal. It's surreal. Probably the most impactful is that they have actually stolen my voice. They've actually stolen my voice in multiple ways too. They're vultures. They're vultures. They want to take you out and then circle around, picking off whatever they can out of your life, out of your existence, whether it's your finances, your ideas, your creativity, your character, even your physical identity. I definitely need help. It's just one of me and a whole bunch of them. And these aren't basement dwellers. No. These are people that had the ability, the know-how, the connection, the power to place me into a digital cage, a digital prison. Every platform I create, they shut down immediately. They've created deep fakes on pretty much every social platform. They've stolen my image. They created fake porn sites, fake dating sites, fake platforms altogether. Here is if, and when I say they, I'm being generalized right now, the vultures, but again, because of the approach that I want to take to sharing my testimony in the way that I want to have it be received, I'm going to use terms like they. But I also, as I go through this really multi-layered, it's very complex, and also too, like, I've been through pretty severe trauma in this experience, so if you can hang with me for a while here too, there is no part of my story that won't impact every single person. It will, because it can happen to you. There was nothing special or different or wrong with me. Just like other acts of really horrific evil and hate. And the one example that is forever ingrained into our history. Those people were just living their life. They're all living their life, and it was snatched from them, taken from them, for no reason. But to be able to demonstrate the impact of hate. And the only way that all of us can move forward past what we are seeing and experiencing, both individually and collectively in humanity, is to unite through the best parts of humanity, because the opposition are people from all walks of life. And you're way behind if you think that it's a particular race, a particular religion, a particular political party, a particular economic status. You don't know how wrong you are if you believe that. And my story, my testimony, is evidence of that. A lot of people want to gather a whole bunch of information, facts, and proof on over years, and this isn't like a study. This is facts and truth of my experience, the impact it had on my life, on my children's lives, the impact it continues to have actually to this day. One of the reasons that I am determined in any way possible and am very much in need of assistance at this point, whether that's sharing my video, liking it, donating, just using your expertise, actually, whatever expertise you have that can help get to the bottom of this. That's why I'm going to present it in the way that I am. Turn the game around on these weirdos who like to play games with human lives, I guess. Because they cut the brakes on my car for the second time, actually. They destroyed my vehicle. And that's even after attempting to get me into car accidents. I have video of all of this. Stay with me. Stay with me. Was very, very confident that they were going to be able to break my spirit and break my faith. They were very confident that they could break me down into nothing, and that I would either walk away from God, walk away from my ministry or my business, walk away from my platforms, walk away from my life, my destiny. Steal like your divine inheritance. I think that it sounds woo-woo or whatever. It's another one of my gifts too. Like I am very spiritual, but I'm also a realist. You know, it's like no judge to anybody that's, you know, we all have our journeys or whatever, but you know, I'm just a loving person with integrity and kindness and honesty. And, you know, my relationship with Jesus Christ and with God is what healed me, is what has gotten me through 4 decades of really horrific abuse and trauma, isolation, and the things that I've had to live through in my life. You know, that's... My relationship with God was co-created. It was a mutual, intimate relationship that grew over many years, since I was a little girl, actually. All of that was training to prepare me for this, to be able to sustain and survive this really horrible situation. Anybody that would hear my story, I believe, would reconsider whatever position they stand on, because I am the opposition of hate and evil, and I don't carry the spirit of fear. I actually cast out fear, just by being unconditionally loving and kind. And a lot of people don't really understand this. You know, anybody who is in the dark arts, or, you know, they're dark spiritualists, or they understand warfare, they know which Christians they can target and which ones they can't. They want to isolate you and make it so you can't even communicate. I don't know if they just use malware. I believe some of it was already installed. All of any social media platform is a spoof. It's a spoof. And again, I'm going to show you receipts and pictures of how I discovered all of this, because how layered this is and how it actually ties so many networks and systems together for all of you to understand just how complex and the sheer level of evil and control that is happening in our world right now. And it's so important that people understand this, but it's also so important that they understand this is not a political, religious, economic, cultural. It's not. And the absolute only way that we will be victorious is to align and unite through truth and integrity, like factual truth and integrity. You're going to have people who embrace humanity and embrace the differences and understanding. And it's not about people who are sinners, about people who have made mistakes. In fact, I would like to offer an opportunity for the people who perpetuated this insane act of hate and abuse, who have stolen from me, an opportunity to take accountability and to be able to move to the side where they recognize that they want to be connected to their own humanity, you know, and come to God, come to truth. Never asked to have this happen to me. And I don't deserve to be going through this. I didn't deserve for this to happen to my kids. I have a right to be able to use my voice. I have a right to serve out my purpose in this world. It's completely insane to me that in 2025 that this could even happen. Or there's always something that they can blame it on, whether it's like they can blame it on their political affiliations and blame it against that side, or like some kind of cultural divide or religious divide. And maybe that has some part in it, but again, it doesn't have anything to do with the victims. It has to do with the people who are perpetuating their will, playing God in other people's lives. And that is not okay. And to me, it really comes down to whether it's the justice system on any level, on any branch, but at a state or federal level, at a world level, intention you have taking away the sovereignty of another human being. Are you imposing your will onto another person, into another person? Are you manipulating their free will? I've always been an independent thinker, a free thinker. And I'm certain that has saved my life in this situation. But what I'm standing with, what I'm left with, really in this moment, is my life. Because these people have taken everything from me. They've taken my ability to earn money. Like I said, they just cut the brakes on my car, so now I can't even drive. They've taken literally everything. They took literally everything. They tried taking my children, actually. My ex, I believe, is working with them now. I'm not sure. I don't want to falsely accuse anybody, but I am going to have to actually, because I desperately need help in this situation. They intercept your data, and I don't think people really understand what that means. I mean, to not even have the ability to communicate. I want you to think about that. To create. Having your devices hacked repeatedly. I've spent $4,000 just on devices and routers. Just trying to have a secure line of communication. I could probably go into cybersecurity at this point, at an entry novice level, though. Ironic that it would appear that social media is a large part of how they have created their network of evil and propaganda and perpetuation of hate, but the unity that has happened for me in all of the people who have helped me through this journey, because all I've been able to hold on to is understanding, is knowledge that other people have graciously shared, whether it's just inspirational, spiritual, religious, the ladies who cover the MLM dramas. I'll get to why that's important, the political commentators, but anybody that I have been called to or led to or drawn to follow or listen to their wisdom, I have noticed the commonality in all of these people. And I'm talking about pastors, prophets, apostles, all different colors, all different ages, from all across the world. Tarot readers, spiritualists, atheists, Scientologists. It's not about their worldly assignment, what they worship, all of that I've been able to better understand my situation. But the commonality in all of these people, and you'll know if you're one of them because I'm going to send you a personal email, but the commonality is the ability to not have a personal bias in your message, that it moves you away from truth and integrity. For me not having any attachment to anything worldly, it could have been way worse. It could have had a very different outcome, and you would have never heard from me. You would have never got to see through my eyes and been walked through my journey the way I'm about to walk you through it. And should you have an affiliation to the people that perpetuated this hate and evil on me, I would hope that that would open your eyes. Not to be judgmental of those people, especially if it were to be family. I honestly don't know. I know that they are influencers involved here. I do believe there are probably politicians and people in the justice system, unfortunately, and some pretty strong suspicions. But the people that I'm going to mention in the next few videos are people in my actual reality who demonstrated an opposition to me living my life. Like, they demonstrated in their behavior, whether it was through just off-the-wall gaslighting, avoidance, whatever it was. I'm going to walk you through it and you can formulate your own opinion. But I'm not even wanting to have to share my story like this. I never thought, I've low-key been writing a book for a long time, but it's even an injustice that I have to share my testimony in this way from a place of still not totally healed. But that's ultimately what the kingdom of darkness, or whatever you want to call it, the bad guys, like, that's what they want. And that in itself that's black magic. The intentional infliction of trauma, creating lack, isolation, and fear. And then also, too, not letting you escape it, whether that's not closing a cycle, whether that's not bringing you justice, whether that's not telling you the truth. I mean, if you think of any kind of narcissistic, psychopathic person, that's really how they operate. You can say it's a dark witch, you can say it's an occultist, and there is no group of people where everybody is bad. That's the thing. It's the bad people that want to use a label because they're using that label to disguise who they are. That's why people who just automatically is like 1 second they're, a witch, and then when they want to rebrand, they're Jesus followers, and it's like it comes off very inauthentic because they're trying to change perception. They haven't actually changed who they are in their heart. And it's not to say that they can't. There are some that are closed religious systems that have a hierarchy within them that embrace an alignment with what they claim to be in alignment with, whether that's Freemasons or any secret society, you guys. It's like, what people need to understand is they're all the same. And the other thing is they all work together. They do. Even at the highest level, they do. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter to them. There are some that practice or say that they practice one thing and they will meet up with somebody in another country that they are on the same hierarchy as their religion, their society, their cult, whatever it is. This is actually happening. It is why it is so expansive. There's a victim, even if that victim is doing their best to survive, like myself, there are more answers. And most people just want to focus on the bad guy. They want to sensationalize the crime or, you know, the act of violence. And even that in itself is not, at least, you know, for my beliefs, just like September 11th, 2001, you know, yes, we had to give attention to that, but overwhelmingly, the wave of change that we saw was carried through love, through humanity, and through people coming together and demonstrating their capacity to be kind to each other, to be selfless, to be courageous, to honor each other, you know. And even now, to this day, we give meaning to that loss when we embrace that same mentality. We give honor to those people, the people even now, the children that are now adults, and that loss that they had. We give meaning to that when we use what happened there and we bring it into the future to create a better future, you know. And that's where all purpose is derived from, you know, and that's where all training is derived from. Like myself, the reason that I work with people with addictions and mental illness, especially children who have suffered complex trauma, children, neurodivergent children, autistic children, and families, couples, and relationships. The reason that God has called me to that is because that is what I have had to heal through. That's how I've turned that into my purpose. And that's what helps with the grief. You know, you take that experience that is so painful to you, any loss, whether, you know, you lost somebody through violence, disease, or just illness, and it doesn't matter what age they were, but when you can take something from that experience and help serve humanity with it, or serve just even an individual through that experience, but not in a codependent way, not in a way that you sacrifice yourself. That is what eternal love is, and that's why eternal love never dies, and that's the kingdom of heaven. It's in a way, because I know they've stolen my identity. There's actually some influencers, and maybe even potentially a family member of mine, who is using my name, my business, and my identity. My name is Alicia Pellegrino. My brand is Amplify, but there's a fitness company based out of Texas, Alpha Athlete. I think they have an affiliate in New York as well. How or why that organization decided to do this to me, now I just know that they were the ones that were marketing my brand. And they were the ones that were sponsoring the influencers. I'm going to show you pictures in the next video. There's people actually using my name. Like, they took over my platforms. And this was a while ago. You know, as I was kind of making the soft transition once my business was formed, Amplify, which was a sole proprietorship. I was never in a contract. I haven't worked with any management companies. I haven't been in a relationship in 4 years. In the world that they live in, they would call this probably like a destiny swap or something. And some people don't understand what that means, but it's essentially where they take your identity and they live your life for you. But when you think about what I have been through in my life and what I've had to heal through, and the fact that somebody would be so entitled that they would just come take it. And then even despite the fact of knowing that I know what you're doing, and I'm not falling for it, I'm not going to take myself out, and then it's they just keep dialing it up. It's then they'll do something else. It's so crazy. If it sounds crazy, it's because it is. But it's not crazy in the fact that it's a conspiracy, because it's actually happening to me. And they may have a whole bunch of people, and they probably thought that I was an easy lick. I just, it's a part of my purpose in this world. I spend a lot of time with God. I have to keep my energy very clean. And it's just who I am. And I'm allowed to be that way. I'm a human being. I'm a sovereign citizen. It doesn't matter if they don't like it. That's just who I am. And I don't have any contractual legal binding agreement with any of them. I don't even know who they are. Like I said, I do believe that they might have been able to inspire some family or friends to jump on whatever bandwagon they were on, because I believe they're making quite a bit of money off of my platforms. Remember, I didn't know that they were doing this right away. Like, I didn't know I was in a digital cage. I didn't know that they were intercepting my data for quite a while. So I believe they were just running my platforms the entire time. And I knew I had been shadow banned, and I knew that they sold my information on the dark web. But, you know, the way that I was able to kind of figure things out, I was just basically troubleshooting. Like, I've literally been troubleshooting for like 2 years straight. and because I don't focus on problems, that's where people tend to like really lose it, is like, okay, here's the problem. Let me try to figure out how I can not give energy to whoever's doing this for whatever reason. And initially I thought it was just like your typical Jesus persecution. But it was like much bigger than that. And I believe there might even be a family like tie here that I didn't know about. And so if I'm not in my destiny, if I'm not able to create and help serve in the way that God has called me to, and be able to even use my voice, like, it's just crazy to me that these people are allowed to do this. It's such a high level too. Like, I've made probably 7 platforms, literally, in like 2 years. There's nothing controversial to my message. Like, they can't even blame it on anything like that. Like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm none of that. It's like essentially what they did. This is the best way that I can describe it overall. It's almost as if like they made an AI model of me, and they are like living that out as who I am, but then locked me in a digital cage and just waited for me to wither away to nothing, whether it's through self-deletion. I think initially they probably thought that's just what I would do, because they didn't even know who I was, and the efforts that they went to so that I lost my home, when they were trying to get me into an accident, when they stole my identity. Eventually, I realized at some point they were probably trying to pin a crime on me also. I've been door dashing. Really, it's just a way to have money and also keep track of my location. Like, always have a location on, be able to take pictures and be able to prove where I'm at all times, but more so just to have an income and still be able to continue to develop my ministry. Just a good person, you know. If you're not somebody who is selfish and hedonistic and self-serving and controlling, and, you know, whatever the opposite of love would be, which I say is shame or hate. I do have another intention for making this video, and it's one, to bring you along the journey from a different perspective, a different angle that you may have not had the opportunity to look through before. That's through my eyes, through the eyes of a victim of a hate crime, of ritualistic abuse, financial abuse, legal abuse. And I'm going to give you the opportunity to arrive at your own conclusions. We can learn from other people, and we can also validate and be inspired by other people, you know, be able to give honor to other people and not be jealous and hateful. Help to protect people and stand on truth and embrace our differences, but come together through truth and through kindness and through love. And Lord knows, definitely Lord knows, our world needs more of that, right? Anyway, I also want to say thank you so very much to all of you who have helped me with your wisdom and, you know, just even just your points of views and your perspectives, or just the comedic relief. You know, when you're locked in a digital cage and you're intentionally isolated, there's not a lot you can do. Obviously, I go to the library quite a bit, but I want to say before I really get into the specifics of what I'm experiencing, this is in no way meant to villainize anyone, to accuse anyone. This is a last resort in an attempt to get my message out, tell my story. Again, the information I'm about to share is based on my experience, an experience that I didn't ask for, that I didn't deserve at all, and gave a lot of opportunity, a lot, for accountability to be taken, or for this group of individuals to just stop. Abundantly clear to me that they don't have any desire to stop. Nobody should ever have to live like how I've had to live. Nobody should ever have to live every day in fear for their life, live in fear for their children's lives. Nobody should illegally have their children taken away from them. My number one priority is making sure that my children are safe at all times. And right now I am extraordinarily concerned for my 10-year-old son, William. I'm very concerned for his father and his stepmother because what apparently is happening with them, but I'm also just concerned for us as humanity, because again, if this could happen to me, this could happen to anybody. And the fact of how persistent they have been and their intentions and the aggressiveness of it is so profound. The oppression, it truly is very much like trying to squeeze the life out of you. Lack of intervention and the amount of effort that I have put in to elicit that intervention, elicit that help. You could exhaust yourself just trying to get help. And it shouldn't be like that. Frustration that develops with the justice system, with the executive system of power. They're supposed to be the equalizers, the equilibrium. They're supposed to maintain the balance. You're always going to have the good with the bad, the light with the dark. You're never going to completely abolish corruption. You're never egos and pride and narcissism and psychopathic personality disorder, and you're never going to completely abolish all of that. But there has to be some kind of balance, and I cannot imagine how many people that did not have the preparation, they didn't have the resourcefulness, whatever it is that I had that they didn't. But I know that there are a lot of people that would not survive through what I've been through. And it's very possible they could be out there right now. Again, I don't even know what the narrative has been. When you're locked in a digital prison, you have no idea. It's essentially like, and I am starting to learn more about artificial intelligence and the goal of that. And, there is, privacy is gone, which that in itself is not being addressed like as a priority when it is, a part of our constitutional rights. There's no privacy left. And I'm going to show you, again, the actual evidence of what I'm speaking on to have it make more sense, but also to show you what I have presented to the people that should be acting as an advocate for me, an advocate for any American citizen that is going through what I'm going through. To not even be able to take a walk outside as a woman, as a single woman, that nobody should have to live like that. Nobody should have to live like that. That's not okay. And no justification for it is the thing. There's actually no justification for it. And the fact that there are people, while I am not even able to pay to have my brakes repaired because I've been financially cut off. When you have all of your banking information infiltrated, I'll show you too, this, a lot of what I'm going to say is going to sound crazy, but this is my experience, okay? And I'm going to show you pictures to back it up, okay? And there's no deep fakes here, okay? Even my DoorDash route was infiltrated, and it would appear that it was infiltrated in a ritualistic way. I know it sounds crazy, but the thing is like, they want to make the truth speakers sound crazy. They want to make it sound like a conspiracy, and it's not, because that way you will be less inclined to listen to the people that are actually speaking the truth. But I have no benefit to speaking on this. Again, this is not something I wanted in my life. I'm not a whistleblower. I'm not a conspiracy theorist either. A level of wickedness that most of us would like to look away from and pretend isn't there, but that's not the solution. You cannot do that anymore. If your naivety is what will make you a victim, and when you realize what it means when this group of individuals, or any group of individuals, any extremist, radicalist, hate group, want to make you a victim, and they are hell-bent on it for whatever reason, they have the power to do it. I mean, you essentially don't even have a voice, and they will just traumatize you, abuse you, break you financially, make it impossible for you to even have an income. But the worst part is like, when you know that people are using your identity and living off of your actual money, you know, what has actually, I believe, happened, again, because I can check my analytics and I can check certain things outside of my network, and it would appear that they've taken over either my entire device through Apple or through just the entire cellular network. And I pay for Verizon, but I'm on a TracFone network. And on this device anyways, you are at the center of the Hunger Games and people are watching. And it's sick that people would even participate in that. It's truly sick, but it's actually happening. Women and children are the food source, the creativity, the energy of regeneration, of rebirth, of creativity, the womb energy. That is money to people who have disconnected from their own humanity, or people who just want to create an artificial humanity. It's not okay. I don't have an addiction. I don't have a criminal record. Okay, I didn't create the circumstance that I'm in right now. And the lack of compassion, the lack of empathy, it was startling, to be honest with you. It was very startling. And at some point through that process, and kind of at the eye of the storm, when I was really going through it, like when my finances were really starting to dwindle and I couldn't stay, you know, on top of the life that I built by myself with a lot of hard work and effort, when you know, things were getting into like the danger, the red zone of me losing my home, I recognized, like, I think it was probably my third visit to the FBI, the actual physical location of the FBI. And I was talking to a woman officer there. And she said, I think I actually have this recorded too. I'm going to look for it, because a lot of the visits I did record also, even if they didn't know I was. But she told me maybe I should just go get another job. And I couldn't believe it. I'm a minister and a healer. Like, it was shocking to hear somebody who's not doing her job on my third visit showing very clear evidence of what is happening to me. Like, I'm a taxpayer and an American citizen. I'm a single woman with 2 children being stalked and hunted. You can go look at my vehicle. I can show you evidence on my phone of what's happening. And you're not even going to investigate before you go tell me to get another job? And all of these operation this and operation that. And they were able to rescue this many children. They were able to rescue this many children over here. And, you know, it's like, wait a second. You're putting together these full raids and operations. But when a mentally, emotionally, self-made, independent mother comes and reports to you what is actually happening with very clear evidence of it, and she's concerned that somebody is trying to human move her around, and I'm at risk at losing my home, and that would put me in a very serious risk. That would make me very vulnerable to these people. You told your solution is for me to go get another job. Justice system is involved directly. I do believe they are operating a shadow government. I'm going to share with you all of the evidence I've collected on this too. Again, keep in mind, I didn't ask to be a part of this. I think that's what people don't really realize when you hear people speaking out. This is insane that I even have to share my testimony in this way. It's an injustice that I have to share my testimony in this way. I should just be able to live my life to the fullest. I shouldn't be having to reach out to other people and bring them along my journey in this way and ask for, like, can somebody do something? Can somebody help? Can you even share my story, screen record this and share it? If you know an attorney, if you know anybody in the justice system that's not corrupt, that cares about human beings, because whatever's available to me doesn't, because this is still happening in my life. And I have no idea what is happening with my 10-year-old son right now, which is, it's like I can't even spend too much time with, like, focused on it, because will become overwhelming. And that's what they want, though. It was like that was the last ditch effort when nothing else could break my spirit. That was the last ditch effort. And then what they do when they do things to intentionally traumatize you, which, by the way, is MK Ultra, and it is black magic.